Happy Valentine's Day on February 14th, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order today. If you please stand up with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wendy, if you please start the roll call.
Ryan Lisek.
Here.
Patrick Conlon.
Here.
Benji Kinchelow. Donald Alton.
Here.
Chris Pilatus.
Present.
Eric Bosma.
Here.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
And myself, Wendy Schmidt. Here.
Thank you. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting on January 10th, 2023? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 10th.
I will approve the motion. I'll second that motion.
Okay, Ryan Lisek.
Yes.
Patrick Conlon.
Yes.
All right, jumping into it right away, we have old business. This one's going to be drainage issues at 9080 West, 129th.
I talked to him about this property. I forgot last time we met, the reason we were holding on is he was supposed to have a wedding in his backyard at some point. He didn't know when it was going to be. He now knows it's August. So he's got enough time to get in there and get out and clean it up. So we're probably going to start getting to it in the next, couple weeks.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he said that Public are going to handle it, I think.
Yeah, I asked him the other day, he said he's still undecided, because I said maybe PGX could do it too, but.
Yeah, I said the same thing. So, but he's ready to move on. So we'll probably get into that in the next week or two, probably. I guess we'll get it off the ground.
Okay, good news. All right, getting into update items. We have the Chuck Becker property at 7513 West 136th Avenue.
No huge updates. We're preparing the legal descriptions and easement documentation for the 5-foot easement that we need on Chuck's property. So once that gets together, we'll send it off to legal and then we'll bring it to Chuck's attention. I know he's trying to sell the parcel, so we wanted to get that easement before he sold it. Selling it to the current tenant, please.
Understood. All right, thank you. Any updates on Schubert and Dodge Street?
No update on that one.
All right, going on to the next one, Woods of Cedar Creek.
That one's kind of sitting off to the side until we figure out what we're going to do with 23 budgets.
Okay. Moving on to the Julianne Gibbons property at 6425 West 145th Street. Any cammering or smoking went on?
Yeah. Don,
Hmm?
did we send you everything?
Sort of. I thought I was getting more.
No cammering, because the camera was broke. We did smoke it, and did jet it out. Somewhere, I think right around her shed, that pipe falls off somewhere. So.
Yeah, we looked. I know town staff looked into if there were any easements on the property. They couldn't find any. They went back and looked into that lawsuit of the property to the southeast. They didn't find any easements tied with it. So whenever we find out with cammering, we don't have right of access. So if there is a repair that's needed, we'll need easements.
I mean, it's pretty far back from her yard. I mean, there's sub pumps that are back there falling, pitching to her yard. The pipe obviously in front of her house needs to get replaced going across the street. The other pipe going from one basin to the other is fine.
That was clean?
That's the new one, yeah.
The big one?
Yeah, that one was fine. It's just there's a sub pump connected to the basin that runs along her fence line, which possibly could be the neighbor's but we're not sure. And Kubiak's idea, he thinks maybe we could do 2 basins in those 2 rear yards, and then connect the pipe to Julie's pipe in the front, and a basin in the front.
I think it does connect it already. I think
We all-
both those go into that structure in her western driveway.
We're thinking that that pipe, the corrugated black that comes, is just, it stops. Like you said, how you think it was covered up. When we jetted it, her and I felt it when we were standing by the fence, her fence line, and it's gotta be pretty close to where her shed's at. And then that's it. It won't go any farther. So I don't know if over the years it got buried, like the previous homeowner buried it all, because even through the GIS, if you go back in later years, you can kind of see. And then it just disappears. We even smoke tested it and nothing came out that end. So it's gotta be buried under her shed somewhere.
Julie,
You gonna get rid of that shed?
She said she'll move it if we have to. But I don't even know if we should even bother with that pipe. I mean, Kubiak was talking about putting it, just adding a new one, but you can kind of see where it's at. Because it comes from the basin in like her little gravel driveway, and then it makes a hard like 45, and then it just shoots out her rear yard. And then it gets lost again.
Julianne, can you come up here for a second?
I mean, unfortunately, she's getting everything just
Yeah,
right to it, but there's nowhere for it to go.
I thought we met you out there months ago at this point. The pipe on your south property line was kind of in line with your neighbor's house, was it not? Ish?
Want me to show you?
Sure.
There's no pipe there, we thought it was, there's a sinkhole there, but there's nothing there.
Make this thing bigger?
That's as big as it's getting.
Okay. It's Lori and Bill's property. This is my property. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the screen's a touch screen.
Oh, wow.
There's a basin right here.
That ties both your pipes in.
There's a fence here too. Outside of this fence, about 4 feet, there's pipe coming down. It comes to right here. It's 4 inches
Yeah.
plastic. It comes to right here. It makes a right angle. It goes here. And then about here, it stops. It's broke. From here to about here, there ain't no pipe there, period. Then there's this pipe continues here, and the broke end is here. My shed is in this vicinity, and there's no ground underneath it.
Yeah.
I dug a hole, and there's no ground there.
It's white.
This pipe is somehow supposed to have been gone to about here-ish on my property, but not really. It's really supposed to connect right about here, right?
It actually, I gave the town guys already the drawing that they allowed for the contractor who built my home, that put it in there, that actually went all the way back to Ed Weber's property, which would be the duplex behind me.
Okay,
That pipe went all the way there, went through my yard, through your yard to that catch basin. From my yard to Weber's property, the pipe was collapsed, that's why he was able to sue the town and win. And then that pipe was removed to try to restore natural drainage, so he wouldn't be flooded out again.
That's why it's not there.
You have drawings of this?
Sure, you guys should have them on file, you guys allowed it.
Okay.
I mean, you pull it up.
Yeah, because the pipe that Julianne's talking about it's a white PVC pipe, and that's usually used for sub pumps.
There's 2 sump pumps
Yeah.
that go in there, into there. My
And then
sump pump
you-
ties into it, and Julie's sump
And you
pump ties into that.
you took it down And like your dad took it down, and then it goes right into the
It
basement.
went right to the catch basin.
Yeah, it goes
Right
at 90,
across.
and then it goes down her property line, down her fence line, and then right into the basement.
Right.
But that other corrugated black pipe that was mysteriously just randomly put in, it doesn't go anywhere. It just stops. And we think it's under her shed. And we even went around to your guys' house, her house, the neighbor's house, everybody's houses to check to see if any of their drainage from their gutters were going into that, and there's nothing. And the duplex still has their sub pump hose, which runs out and then down into their property, and then it's facing her property and just right out. So now it's starting to make, and then they made that little swale just so it would run down. That's why Tim was talking about some basins and stuff.
Well, yeah, I would say we just install an entirely new line, rip out the one paralleling the road and then going back.
Yeah.
He says a 4-inch, which would be
The pipe for the,
sump pumps.
for the sump pump is, but the corrugated, it's probably maybe 10, maybe bigger than that.
Well, it should match whatever's in the
Yeah.
catch basin, so I mean, if you look at that, you can get your size.
But I mean, we had, our last resort was to jet it out, and we got the jetter all the way, and then her and I were standing there while they were still doing it. They were pulling it back, and as they were pulling it back, you could feel it in the ground. It's there somewhere, it's just, I don't know if it was cut off and just left, or if it was blocked off, we don't know.
All right. I'm gonna have to draw this out for me.
Okay.
We can figure out what we wanna do.
Excuse me, could I say a couple things?
If you come up here, state your name and address.
Me.
I can look for that drawing though.
Okay.
For you guys, it was submitted.
I mean, can you
I believe I
get-
gave an engineer once when he was out there,
It wasn't
several
me.
months back. I was
Okay.
told there was an engineer out there.
Oh, you.
My name's Axel Burgum.
Okay, we'll try to get results, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, one more time?
Axel Burgum. I live on Wheeler Street on this side of the road. I was there when they were building the properties, and on where her house is, the topography, you can pull it up from like 1990.
Oh, it's a bolt.
Okay. This here was a mirror. There was 12, 13 feet deep here. It used to be 12, 13 feet here. The builder was told he could add 6 inches to this property. They ended up cutting down the trees and taking the foundation and filling probably 8, 9 feet. Coming across the road, the water was supposed to come across the road in front of her house, a holding basin here. They were supposed to run a pipe to the corner, 145th and Wheeler, another holding basin to go to where her drainage is to come across the road onto my property. And as of the back, so in other words, this whole area in here, a lot of it was filled from 8 feet deep all the way back to where it's closed in. It used to be this big, but now all that water comes into a little area like this. It has really nowhere to go except back up on all the other properties. The duplex behind there, when they did this, almost instantaneously, it was getting flooded, because all of the drainage here was being held up. And there's a real big problem, because they just built a 2-story here. My point is, all this was deemed unbuildable property. This guy bought the property, had it rezoned. The new houses were built across the street. You can drive by and look. It is not flat anymore, which it used to be. That's all saturation from the subdivisions over here. Now, my property takes all the water from the north, all the water from the south, east, and west into here and down west again. And you probably will never see a pipe, because he cut
complete corners and, you know, we tried to bring it up. It was, you know, nobody wants to hear this, you know, the politic word. But the one last meeting where he was told 6 inches, we were all here for the meeting. You guys came to a close, not you guys, but the past generations. They took us through that door right there and met in the back, and here was the builder and the guy that was, I think, the inspector or whatever, in order to get that, her house built on, again, unbuildable property. And it's happening all over. People are buying unbuildable property. When you build it, if you have a saturation point of, say, 10 feet by, I'm just gonna pick a number, 100 feet, you have to make the same area for that water to go to, or you're just crushing. I've lost so much property on my land from the water coming over, actually from the road out 8 feet by probably 6, 7 feet. I've lost a ton of, along 145th. The road used to have, where I could mow it 3, 4 times, you know, roughly 6 feet. Here's the end of the asphalt, here's the gully. You can even tell how much by the culverts, because they stick out. Those used to be covered with, you know, soil and that. But there is a problem. We've been being promised, you know, 25, 30 years that they were gonna correct it. And it's sad because the first person that bought her house, he got a VA loan. Cedar Lake condemned that house. It was gonna be torn down and dug out. Not Bill and Lori's, but the house she's in. And then, same guys were here. Somehow, next time, probably about a month or 2, here was a moving van. Somebody moved in there again, and it's just, that's built on a huge sinkhole and stumps, buried stumps and everything else.
Not to litigate the past, but
No,
what
I know.
what was the logic behind it being unbuildable? Was it just because of the level of saturation, or was it because,
Saturation.
or just or the soil quality?
The road is, you know, on top of the door. Okay, they built a house that was pool deep. Okay, he was allowed 6 inches. This property here, he would only been able to fill up this much.
Yeah,
I mean, it was,
yeah.
and the same thing just happened. I heard over here that they just bought, this property over here. That new big house is right here. That's unbuildable. Where's Colfax?
Right there to your left.
Here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so here's Colfax, and technically, they're basically building, because even though it comes to a dead end, there's imaginary roads are eventually, you know, 50 years from now, we're gonna be roads going through there and then houses. Is this the horse farm?
Yeah.
Yeah, all this over here, I'd say like, well, all these lots are not buildable. Most of these are not buildable. And then now there's a big gully over here now that somebody bought up. And they sheared all the trees and it's a gully like mine. It's a shame. I don't know. I have, you know, somewhere I have all sorts of pictures. I have the topography of that back in 1990. You'll be able to tell how much the guy filled. And from what I basically heard, which, you know, you can't trust much anything anymore, those documentations should be there. And from what I've heard, they've been flipped around now where it used to be 10 feet deep, it's only 4, you know, but that's your guys' to figure out. But there are serious problems, and has been, and it's just pushed aside, and it's sad, because people are getting took, and that's not right. The original owners next to them, they wanted to buy that, property where Bill's house was built, and hers, just to put a shed. It's unbuildable land, they couldn't even put a shed, the next thing it's being sold, and somebody's, you know, instead of a $3,000 property, they get $30,000, fill it in and build a house. That's wrong, you know? That's all I have to say. If you have any questions about anything, 'cause that whole area back, even going south, there's pockets of retainment water that all they gotta do is connect the dots, so that's easy flow for everybody there. But like I said, every time it rains, the gravel and stuff in front of my house is washed, north, and the road's trash. It just, they keep coming out and spraying it and going. I'll let you guys, I know everybody else has gotta talk. Sorry.
Axel, what's your address, one more time?
14516 Wheeler Street, Cedar Lake, in Indiana. And if the Army Corps of Engineers come out, I would really like to talk to them, because, you know, it's gonna be extensive, but that area, and where they're buying the houses and building brand new, huge houses, they can't get away with that anymore unless they fix it. 'Cause like I said, every house they build there, it's affecting Julie, but I get all that water. Like I said, it sounds weird that I get north, south, east, and west water, but that's where the main thing is, and then it shoots towards Cedar Lake, and then I think it goes down and then goes south to Lake Dale. That water that goes all through there. But I'd really like to get involved in this. It got to a point, you know, way back, I know you mentioned you don't wanna bring back old wounds or whatever. I put my heart and soul, and so did everybody else that lived out there, you know? I mean, they're even cutting down cedar trees. What is this? This is Lake of the Red Cedars, and they're destroying them, you know? That's all.
So, I think we have enough to start moving towards a direction. Eric, I need to get with you to actually figure out where these are at. If we abandon some in place or rip them out or put new ones in or whatnot, it's gonna be a decision we have to make.
Yeah, well, I think, maybe you, me, and Kubiak can go over there and think of something, because, I mean, it goes all uphill anyway, so, I mean, we would have to get easement ways to get back there.
To get back, yeah. So,
But,
yeah, let's get a game plan together, some direction offline. We'll bring something back at the next meeting potentially.
Yeah, 'cause even Tony and Kyle were out there too with us, and it's bad. And there's no direction to go, because we don't, and it's newer stuff.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part, is it's not old.
Yeah.
It's just installed not well.
Okay.
Ms. Givens.
I propose you buy me out. Dig it out, put it back to the way God put it. If you need Lori and Bill, their property, do it for them too. Because we're not gonna go anywhere, and until I die, I will be here fighting my cause. Y'all know my situation. And as I told you the first time around, you've got to help us. And I have a question. On the water bill, could somebody please explain to me why I am paying $10 for drainage? When I called to ask about that, I was told, very curtly, it was because of all the storm water drains that run through my property to drain all the water and snow off my property. And I said, well, I don't have anything on my property. God's draining my property, and He's draining it by gravity, and a whole bunch of acres back that way. So why am I paying $10 a month for drainage?
Every residential parcel pays a strict fee of $10, user fee. That's the way it's determined.
So I'm paying for nothing.
No,
What am I paying for?
it's a user fee, as long as you have runoff coming from your property into something that's maintained by the town. Or even, it can be anything, it can be a ditch, it can be a storm sewer, it can be anything.
So I'm paying for the water that's going across the road to Axel's property where the creek is.
If that's the way you wanna look at it, yeah.
You're also paying for these people here that go out there and look the situation over. Their salaries come out of the part of this,
Okay, I'll accept that, because that man is worth keeping.
okay? But everybody in town pays that,
I know they do.
and businesses pay a lot more. And it used to only be $5, and they had to increase it to 10, and really, we do not collect enough to cover everything we need to cover in town. But we're doing the best we can with the expertise of these two gentlemen here.
Okay, well, thank you, I appreciate it. I'll pay for that.
Okay, moving on to the Justin Latz property at 7320 West 140th Place.
I have no updates for you, Justin.
Yeah.
So,
I do have, oh, here. Come up here and speak. Understanding the situation and what we've got and the idea of having, another pipe that goes down to, what is it, east? Yeah, I mean, that's a phenomenal amount of work that needs to be completed.
yep.
If, you mind if I walk up to the map?
Yeah. No, if you touch it, it reacts.
Yeah, I'll be careful.
You're good.
I know the culvert, like we had discussed last time, is due to be replaced because we have significant erosion that's taking place right here.
Mhm.
Part of the road's going, they've cut it, for whatever reason that is. If, because I know we were talking about a pipe going this way, but it levels out like crazy.
Yeah, you can't get cover on it.
Here, we have more depth. If we were able to just put a pipe from here to here, I'd be glad, and I'd take care of the rest. I don't know if you were able to go out there. I put a berm up there to keep the water channeling and going down to the end of the road and into the I guess, what is a ditch down there?
Something.
Yeah.
I mean, we can look into that. I know we can't get it to your northern property line.
Yeah,
There's just not enough
yeah,
fall
no, that's,
covered.
that makes perfect
So
sense.
there's gonna be a limit to where we're gonna have to daylight it. I don't know where that would be.
Yeah, I figured there was approximately 90 feet, and we do have a lot of depth right there, just from the erosion that's taken place from that creek being there.
Does that get it past your house then?
Drainage, what was that?
Does that get it past your house,
It
that 90
does.
feet?
It does, and I'd be more than satisfied with that.
That's basically the back corner of your house.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I'd be fine addressing the rest of it as need be. Like I said, I put a berm up and there was some concrete and things that they had thrown back there to make the driveway stable at one point, or just the gravel drive. And we were able to pull some of those against the side of the creek to create that berm. I understand that it's all floodplain back there anyways.
Yes.
That forest back there is gonna flood regardless of what we do with the water coming from that stream. That's
Yep.
here nor there, I get that. But I'm okay with the water going there, as long as we go down there, I'm good. I'm just worried about things coming towards the shed, but since I put that berm there, that's taking care of it. It just makes sure the water ends up back there, rather than that one spot where it's significantly becoming eroded.
Let me send one of my guys out there to run a level to
For
see where we can get a possible in-route.
Yeah.
And what kind of cover we can get.
Yeah,
Cause yeah, it really starts flattening out as soon as you get past your house.
oh yeah, for sure. We took a laser level out there too, a few
Yeah.
months ago, and before it got cold, I guess,
Yeah.
for winter.
Yeah, it was,
Took-
well, snow on the ground, now it's 50,
Yeah.
so.
So we were able to kind of look at that. I mean, it does, once you get past, there's a big silver maple. That's kind of right where my air conditioner is, but after that, I mean, I don't even know.
You've got these monster trees on your property line.
That's the one thing too, that one big.
That's what I would be afraid of about getting into the ground.
Yeah.
That we would kill that thing. I don't think it's yours either.
Actually, my property does extend to the what is it, the west side of that right there, so if
Yeah.
that thing had to go, by all means,
Okay.
take it with you. And all the trees to the east of that are all dead from the creek anyway,
Yeah.
so.
I'm not worried about the small ones, I'm worried about the big ones.
Yeah, there's just that one big one, everything else is just Chinese elms that are on their way out anyway, so.
Okay.
So, that's kinda what I think, so.
Yeah, let me look into that, I promise I'll have something for next meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
I just, yeah, the weather and when it was snowing,
Yeah, right, no, I
couldn't see
got you.
anything, so.
Yeah, not a problem, but we will be back next time then, to
Right.
discuss. Awesome, thank you very kindly.
Kubiak wants to put that culvert pipe going across the street on hold for fear that it might make his property worse for now, so.
Well, yeah, if we can extend it potentially, obviously we need an easement.
I
Through
mean,
there to do it, it'd be a permanent easement at that.
Mhm.
so we did cold patch it before winter, that sinkhole, so we can go, cause we were ready to replace that, but
Yeah.
Kubiak said kind of hold off so we can figure out
Yeah.
what we're gonna do, cause we have a feeling it's gonna make it worse. So we'll just kind of fill that area up again, so nobody.
A new one's gonna pump more water through it even
Yeah.
if it's the same size. 'Cause that
Yeah.
one's old and rusted and
Yeah, at least now that the bottom's all rotted out, the water will kind of trickle down.
slow it down a
Yeah,
little bit.
Yeah,
So,
it's filled with all kinds
Yeah,
of debris.
once we throw in a
everything
brand new
too, to
pipe,
slow it down.
it's gonna
So,
move.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
talking about putting limiters on it or something to slow down the flow, but, I mean, when it rains 2 inches, I mean, that thing is going,
full.
so, yeah, oh,
Yeah.
completely, 110%.
it's got like 3 pipes coming into it and then
Yeah.
going, shooting.
We got like 15 acres going to it or something, like
Fun.
that. Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah. All right,
We'll look at it.
all right, thanks, sir, appreciate it. Yeah, email.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Talk to you later.
All right, moving on to Public Works projects, 9402 West 141st Place.
This one, we looked at it again today. We potholed right about where we thought the end of the pipe was, and we found out that there's a black corrugated pipe that was attached to the steel corrugated pipe going across the street, going into the park. So the homeowner, previous to this homeowner, must have made his own type of culvert pipe to fill in the yard. So,
There's a blind 45 on it.
yeah.
That probably explains why it's not sinking in.
I mean,
I say we just keep an eye on it then.
it's makeshift, but it works. I mean, I did tell the homeowner today that we can come back and kind of fix up that little section on the other side of his driveway, but he did say because we were worried about which way the pitch of the water flow for that pipe, he did say if we absolutely have to, we could cut the driveway up. I told him I'd rather not do that to replace it, so.
I mean, I don't think there's any flooding issues over there. per
No,
se.
he's more worried about kids falling in it and more of maintenance.
You could shape it probably, but it has to be there.
We got enough spoils at the shop that we could probably just kind of make it smaller, but then kind of do a type of swale that'll go right into the pipe.
It has to be left open unless you put a catch basin on that corner to drain it. It's the only way you can actually
I
cover
think
it.
he wants it more like even enough for him to get a zero turn to mow it and then come out, so. Yeah, I did tell him I do not know where the other pipe is coming into that. I have no clue. We've never found it. I'm realizing that's why we couldn't find the pipe when we metal detected it months ago, because it turned into plastic.
Well, yeah, his cross culvert's black plastic.
Yeah.
It's black corrugated, right?
And it's new.
Yeah, I think I put in when you did the driveway, which is only.
We almost
2 years
thought that
old.
it was gonna keep going west, but then it automatically, right where the culvert pipe goes into the park, it just stops there, so,
So he didn't take any ownership of
no,
making that blind?
no.
Pretty sure it was him, but.
Yeah.
Cause that driveway's less than 2 years old.
Yeah,
I didn't know he put it in.
His son was out there, and then he was taking some pictures on the phone, and then his dad pulled right over, came right over and was, so.
I mean, that is in public right of way. It's an abnormally large right of way there.
Oh, yeah,
So-
it's like 2 trees worth.
It's big. It's a
I mean-
100-foot radius on the cul-de-sac, so.
Before today, Kubiak wanted us just to do a swale, just do a ditch, take one tree out, just do a swale. He said he talked to the owner, they said it was okay. Tyler and I decided that we wanted to go out there to find the ends of the pipe today with the back truck, and that we were able to find that, so.
Yeah, if you wanna skinny it up, I think that wouldn't be an issue.
I mean,
If that
we
makes you happy, then we move on.
We jetted it out. We think that a lot of the leaves are going in there just because it is so low that everything's just falling in there, and then it's going to the end where it L's, and then it stops.
That's the potential problem with that blind
Yeah.
bend. If you get too much stuff in it, we can't maintain it. You just have to jet it.
Yeah. I
You don't wanna
mean,
jet that CMP too much, or else you're gonna destroy it.
we could probably cut it and 90 it or 45 it, but I mean, it's, because I stood there while Tyler was shooting the jetter through it, and there was no water flowing out of it. So, it's flowing into the pipe, it's not, it would have filled up our hole that we potholed, but and we left it in there for a while, and it just, I was expecting it to shoot straight up in the air, but it's solid, so I don't know if they somehow watered it.
But if you're jetting from his east end of his driveway column, and you're jetting west, it doesn't flow out of the CMP heading south?
No. Not yet. Well, I mean, we didn't stick around long enough, but.
It's not that long of a pipe though, it should have gone out of it pretty quick, if there was a good connection there.
Because what we're figuring, because Tyler didn't want to keep jetting it until we reestablished that area on the corner. And then we're gonna rejet his pipe going across his driveway and then going back into the park.
Okay.
And then see if it'll, and
Should
then I
come
need
out of the
time
park.
to camera it now because we know that it's a pipe.
Okay. Yeah, if he wants that corner cleaned up, it's not a big deal.
I think that's the main reason why we're even discussing this, because he
Okay.
wants that corner cleaned up.
And we'll just keep an eye on that L and
Yeah.
see how it's functioning.
Because it doesn't flood in front of his yard at all,
So it's gotta be functioning then,
so,
to an extent.
yeah. I mean, it just isn't done right, but, I mean, he's okay with it. I mean, he said, we gotta do what we gotta do, whatever, if you wanna put a basin in there or whatever, but at this point, I don't.
It's functioning, there's no sinkhole, it's actually connected well.
Yeah.
And we should be okay, but you just
I
worry
mean,
about that
I
flow.
did dig a little farther back, west, just to look to see if there is anything, and if there isn't, then maybe we'll put something there, we'll mortar it up, or put something to kind of block it, so it don't eventually become a sinkhole. It was dry there, so.
Yeah, if you can televise it, and you might find it out, but.
Because as soon as we jetted it out, the water started flowing, and then it kind of backflowed a little bit, so.
Well, I think it's back pitched.
Yeah.
Like, I think we actually have we ran a laser on that, and it's kind of back pitched towards that inner part of the curve. That's why it's wet all the time, I think.
Yeah, that's what
I think when it gets really high, it'll flow,
Yeah.
but I think it's back pitched by a couple inches.
But I mean, he did say if we had to, at last resort, go ahead and cut the driveway up and replace the pipe, but I mean, it's flowing through there, so. It's just a little slower than normal.
If you skinny it up, it might be less intrusive.
Yeah. I mean, that's something maybe we would have to keep on our radar too, every so often, go over there and jet it out, so.
Yeah, I would keep an eye on it.
Because I mean, it's going into our park anyway, so we might as well be cleaning it out.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business. Project priority list and scoring criteria. Do you want to shoot this one?
Sure, if you guys want to talk about it. We distributed kind of a rating system to all the board members a week or two ago, to basically grade each project that we have on our list right now. It's about 4 or 5 projects, give or take. I don't think we expected you guys to come back and have fully scored projects today, or if you did, we can discuss them. Or if you wanted Benji to be at the next meeting and discuss them then. I mean, we really don't, the money's not coming in right now, as discussed before, so.
Right.
It's not paramount to choose something tonight, but if you want to discuss it, we can.
Are you satisfied with the?
Yeah, the ratings,
The rating mechanisms? I know we did receive some feedback from, Ryan, in that regard. Certainly, the projects, not all of the projects on the list that you have currently have dollar figures attached to them, so as you heard tonight, we should have a better idea at our next meeting with some of those projects.
And then two, that gives the opportunity for Ben to weigh in as well. Just, I guess overall, if you're satisfied with the scoring, sheet as is.
I just, a couple quick questions on it, as I was reviewing it. One of the questions is, does the project benefit public right-of-way areas? Can you elaborate on it a little bit? I don't know.
So,
Yeah.
I guess historically, different types of projects come before the board. Some are, you know, dependent on, say, you know, curb and gutter needs to be done, or some type of right-of-way that's, you know, even if it's a paper right-of-way, versus maybe somebody's rear yard that affects two parcels that's clearly well outside of public right-of-way. And then also dependent on those types of cases, if it's even an issue the town wants to be involved in. I think there's a dividing line, I think, between what's the responsibility of the town and what's the responsibility of a homeowner. And that there's lots of different, you know, things that go into that discussion, but I think the point of this was to say, you know, is it benefiting, I guess, the public interest versus private interest in some respects?
Gotcha. So, for example, Mrs. Gibbons, that certainly does benefit the public right-of-way.
It does, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that drainage comes from public right-of-way or crosses public right-of-way, or,
Yep.
yeah.
Gotcha, okay. And then we might need some guidance, Don, I think, for the number of easements required, is one of the questions, you know, because sometimes
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I can expand our November memo to kind of answer some of these questions as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
We know a lot of information for several of those projects.
No, but I think overall, the rating scale is excellent. I mean, it checks all the boxes.
I'll just reiterate, we have a limited budget that comes to this. We have to pick and choose which projects on an annual basis. None of these projects would be scheduled or to begin starting until, say, June, July-ish, because there's not enough money in the account right now, but that's where that money goes to, so we can do these projects for the town and benefit the people that pay into the fund.
Chris, do we know what we collect on a monthly basis? Does Jen know that information?
Jen would have that information. I can certainly get that and shoot that out to the board.
I'm just curious, trend-wise, if it's on track for what was kind of estimated collection-wise.
Don't believe we've had any major anomalies that have us lower than usual. We do a fairly good job at collecting.
But I do appreciate both the town manager and Don putting this together, because it definitely is it brings clarity to subjective and interpretive matters that can go one way or the other. So this does help out in the decision-making factor. And being able to plan it around it definitely does help for the people that it affects.
So yeah, we'll expand our November memo just to answer some of these questions so you can accurately score it. We'll try to get it on to you, a couple weeks before next meeting, so you can be a little more informed. And we'll take it from there.
What we usually do, and I'm assuming Don also kind of based this off of what we do in NERC or other scoring criteria, is we'll have each board member score the projects, we will then collect them, and then do an aggregate average of how each project scored amongst all four, and then we'll produce a scorecard sheet that shows each project and how they rated overall amongst all three board members. That way then you can have a ranking of first, second, third.
I've got a new item to bring before you. Former town council member, got a hold of me and says, I got a bone to pick with you. And he said that at 133rd and Morse, we got a $495,000 streetscape from Pete Viskovsky, and he says that water isn't going down that drain, and he said it probably needs to be jetted out. So could we look into that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I know what he's talking about.
Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Glenn Lapham, and I live at 6822 West 142nd Place, Cedar Lake. You talked about prioritizing the projects. You didn't say a thing. All you said, yeah, we're gonna put it off and we're gonna prioritize them later, at a later date. You said scoring criteria. What is the scoring criteria? Can we know what it is too?
I guess public information at this point.
I mean, it should be. I mean,
Not a finalized document, but
Yeah.
it's what we've got right now.
He's giving it to you right there.
oh, okay.
And then,
I've got multiple copies.
in previous meetings, I'd have to go back when we talked about this, but we identified just a, kind of like the short priority list of the properties. So, Woodland Shores, storm sewer improvement, that's the Becker property. The Gibbons property, Woodland Hills, 130th Court cul-de-sac, the Schubert Dodge Street storm sewer system, and the Woods of Cedar Creek Phase 2 project. So
Okay.
those, right now, that's the short list of, that has been presented to the board and how to spend the funds as far as which projects are considered a priority. And with that rating system in front of you, that's, we're gonna go and score those individually and then come together, and take an average of what is going to be, permissible.
Okay, when will we get that information?
Well, we wanna do it when the other, board member is present as well.
So I agree,
Yeah.
you know,
Potentially next month.
Potentially, yes.
okay.
Potentially, if each board member has everything turned in before then, and we can have an average, but otherwise it'll be pushed off until we can collect that and make the average.
Yeah, because we've been pushing this project off for the last 2 years. You know, last year it was pushed off for an administrative reason more than anything else, from what I understand.
Well, let's not go that direction.
Yeah,
There were
that's-
reasons this thing, phase 2 got delayed.
Yeah.
And a lot
how
from,
do
not
we-
from this board's fault.
How do we find the minutes of the last month's meeting? Is it in the internet somewhere?
They're on our website.
And I've looked at it, I've looked at it 3 or 4 different times and tried to find them, and I can't find the
They
minutes.
have to be approved by this board first before they're put up as the official minutes, so everything is.
So just to know, we
Right.
approved last month's meeting.
Here's the minutes.
So, tonight's
That they
minutes will not be on until
they
they're
approve
approved.
this.
Correct.
Okay.
The YouTube, recording of all the meetings though are put up on our
Yeah.
YouTube channel, so you can watch that, almost immediately after the meeting is held.
Oh, okay,
So if you can't get the minutes, you will be able to watch the live recording of it.
good, thank you.
So this, just to reiterate on the scoring mechanism, that's done on a lot of state-funded projects and federal-funded projects, correct?
No, that's.
Almost
It's
all.
required
Yeah.
to keep transparency and keep, you know, things ethical, et cetera, so.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, when you're trying to, rate a project and it's not based on financials, right? If you're just doing qualifications, let's say for engineering services, there's no real way to look at price per se. They'll use the rating system then to select a qualified engineering firm, so it's very common, is all
Yeah,
I'm
it,
saying.
it makes sense,
Yeah.
you've gotta have a way to rate them somehow.
Right.
I just didn't know how it was done at all, you know. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Brian, I do have a item under consideration for new business, if you would not mind.
Please.
So I had a discussion with our town attorney, and he would like to be present at these meetings. However, there is a conflict in his schedule and a request by him if the board would consider moving their meeting to the first Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock. We would then consider moving the park board up to 7, starting in April.
Have another meeting that night.
The which Thursday, I'm sorry?
The first Thursday of the month or Thursday? again, I know there is an absence of a board member right now whose consideration should also be made. So if it's something that the board would like to hold off until Ben is here at the next meeting for consideration, we can do that, but just something to probably stew on the next month.
As of now, tentatively, I'm okay with that.
Me too.
I can't comment. I base my whole 2023 schedule around this meeting. So, yeah, let's wait for Ben to come back. And decide there. So maybe we can have a decision by next meeting.
Have we got another?
Is that even enough?
Dave?
Yeah.
No. He unfortunately represents 3 communities, so his schedule is very tight.
Why does he need to attend these meetings?
There has been some questions on litigation, legal responsibilities and such. It would be preferable. And then outside of that, there have been other civil matters. I can think of at least one in the Armani area that I feel it prudent, and so does he, that we have legal representation on this board. But again, I would like the input of the other board members, so I will reach out to him on email, let him know what we've considered here to see if that works for his schedule as well, just so he's not coming in blind at the next meeting.
What about one of his other attorneys?
Mentioned only the opportunity to move the meeting.
Okay.
I will have discussion.
Next meeting is the 7th of March?
14th.
14th, okay, good deal.
February and March dates are both the same.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, nothing online? Please.
Rich, did you want to say something? Just not. He's on mute. Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll adjourn the meeting tonight. Go out and have a great Valentine's Day, everyone.